I wanted to tell you that I feel very, very grateful because I was honored to translate your book, Ask and It Is Given, into Spanish. And I really felt your words whispering on my ears when I couldn't find the right words.
When Jerry and Esther heard that you were the one who was translating the book, they were thrilled. Jerry said, "So nice to have someone doing it who knows the heart of Abraham."
Thank you. Thank you. And every time I was in trouble to find the right word in Spanish, and I asked you for help, I discovered that your Spanish was better than mine. Thank you.
And you also discovered that you are a translator on more than one level.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Question is there such thing as a compassionate God who listens to us and gives us what we ask for, even if we don't vibrate sometimes with our desire, or if we are really on our own 100% responsible? In other words, do we have to be happy in order to be happy to begin with? Or can we ask for help when we can't find a thought that makes us feel better? Is there an entity called God that thinks and makes decisions, or is just us all together from which God is made?
Well, that which man calls God is very different from man's image of God. Because God has made man, but man is now remaking God in man's image. In other words, man forms a perspective of something and then tries to make everything fit into that, and there is tremendous distortion in that process. You are accurate when you feel that you are that which is God, both from your physical and your non-physical perspective. The combination of you and all of the rest of us is what God is, because God is consciousness that is expanding. Sometimes humans feel unsettled about that because there are so many who have been happier seeing God as just an exaggerated version of man, someone very much like man but just bigger and hopefully smarter, and with all of the answers. And so in the process of making that image of God, man has subverted his own image of self. In other words, he has humbled himself by making this distinction of this superior God, which makes him the inferior mortal. And on that basis, man has separated himself from that which is God, which is sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? People have said to us in gatherings like this, "Abraham, you have disrupted my image of God." Some have even said, "Abraham, you do not talk of God much, and I want to know why that is." And we said, "We don't talk of anything other than what you call God." In other words, we are that energy. You are that energy. We are all in this together, but we certainly acknowledge that it is not easy to see the big picture from the physical format. But it is easier and easier to feel the big picture from the physical format. In other words, when you, through your appreciation of another or of a flower, find a vibration that puts you in alignment with that which is source energy, so that you are that energy, when there is no separation between the energy that is God and who you are in that moment, then you have knowledge of that. In other words, under those conditions, you don't question so much. Usually when people are questioning their relationship with God, it's when they have gotten themselves into a vibrational quagmire where they are far vibrationally from the energy that is that. And it's so interesting. Do you know the majority of prayers that are offered from physical humans is from a place of utter disconnection of that which they are hoping to receive? And so man, in his effort to pray and receive guidance, actually enhances his separation between who he really is and the God that he is reaching for. Jerry and Esther have a dear, dear friend who is a minister, has been a minister of more than one church, different denominations, and says to his congregation on a rather regular basis, I used to pray for God, but he was always out to lunch. And we say, you must be in vibrational alignment before you know that which you are reaching for. And when you are in vibrational alignment, the lack of separation is something that you know viscerally, you know vibrationally, not so much intellectually. And then, of course, to be in sync with that energy and feel infinite intelligence pouring through you. In time, you have all answers to all questions. And the first question we want you to ask is, who am I? And our answer is, you are God. And the next question we want to hear from you is, and how am I doing? And the answer that we want you to hear is, you are doing exceptionally well. You are right on track. And the next question we want you to ask is, how can my life be better? And we say, seek things that feel good to you when you focus upon them. And the next question that we want you to ask is, how am I doing? And the answer is exceptionally well. And the next question we want you to ask is, what will come next? And we say, whatever it is you choose. And the next question that we want you to ask is, well, will you not choose for me? And the answer is, we are choosing with you, but we are not choosing for you. And when you are in vibrational alignment with that which is us, the choices that we make together are those choices that we all intended when you made the decision to come forth into this physical body to begin with. It's closing the gap, solving the separation, becoming one with who you are in your joyous endeavor, and then being the God in physical form that is natural to you. You have glimpses of that as you were translating that book. You were in vibrational alignment with that. You know that power. Esther feels it. She feels it for you. You know that she is in alignment with that which is God. There's no question in her mind that she's in vibrational alignment with infinite intelligence, or God if you want to call it that. She can feel the power of it and the clarity of it and the goodness of it and the love of it, you see. But words don't teach. You have to have your own personal experience in order to have that knowing. And that's why every word that is uttered through Esther is a word and now translated by you to help others understand that you are the creator of your own reality. You are the God that is the creator of worlds, you see. Don't be humble and try to make yourself apart from that. Embrace it and accept it and ride that wave. Yes.
Thank you. First, I wanted to tell you that I feel very, very grateful because I was honored to translate your book, Ask and It Is Given, into Spanish. And I really felt your words whispering on my ears when I couldn't find the right words.
When Jerry and Esther heard that you were the one who was translating the book, they were thrilled. Jerry said, so nice to have someone doing it who knows the heart of Abraham.
Thank you. And every time I was in trouble to find the right words in Spanish, and I asked you for help, I discovered that your Spanish was better than mine. Thank you.
And you also discovered that you are a translator on more than one level.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Question is there such thing as a compassionate God who listens to us and gives us what we ask for, even if we don't vibrate sometimes with our desire, or we we are really on our own 100% responsible? In other words, do we have to be happy in order to be happy to begin with? Or can we ask for help when we can't find a thought that makes us feel better? Is there an entity called God that thinks and makes decisions, or it's just us all together from which God is made?
Well, that which man calls God is very different from man's image of God. Because God has made man, but man is now remaking God in man's image. In other words, man forms a perspective of something and then tries to make everything fit into that, and there is tremendous distortion in that process. You are accurate when you feel that you are that which is God, both from your physical and your non-physical perspective. The combination of you and all of the rest of us is what God is, because God is consciousness that is expanding. Sometimes humans feel unsettled about that because there are so many who have been happier seeing God as just an exaggerated version of man, someone very much like man but just bigger and hopefully smarter, and with all of the answers. And so in the process of making that image of God, man has subverted his own image of self. In other words, he has humbled himself by making this distinction of this superior God which makes him the inferior mortal. And on that basis, man has separated himself from that which is God, which is sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? People have said to us in gatherings like this, Abraham, you have disrupted my image of God. Some have even said, Abraham, you do not talk of God much, and I want to know why that is. And we said, we don't talk of anything other than what you call God. In other words, we are that energy. You are that energy. We are all in this together, but we certainly acknowledge that it is not easy to see the big picture from the physical format, but it is easier and easier to feel the big picture from the physical format. In other words, when you, through your appreciation of another or of a flower, find a vibration that puts you in alignment with that which is source energy, so that you are that energy, when there is no separation between the energy that is God and who you are in that moment, then you have knowledge of that. In other words, under those conditions, you don't question so much. Usually when people are questioning their relationship with God, it's when they have gotten themselves into a vibrational quagmire where they are far vibrationally from the energy that is that. And it's so interesting. Do you know the majority of prayers that are offered from physical humans is from a place of utter disconnection of that which they are hoping to receive? And so man, in his effort to pray and receive guidance, actually enhances his separation between who he really is and the God that he is reaching for. Jerry and Esther have a dear, dear friend who is a minister, has been a minister of more than one church, different denominations, and says to his congregation on a rather regular basis, I used to pray for God, but he was always out to lunch. And we say, you must be in vibrational alignment before you know that which you are reaching for. And when you are in vibrational alignment, the lack of separation is something that you know viscerally, you know vibrationally, not so much intellectually. And then, of course, to be in sync with that energy and feel infinite intelligence pouring through you. In time, you have all answers to all questions. And the first question we want you to ask is, who am I? And our answer is, you are God. And the next question we want to hear from you is, and how am I doing? And the answer that we want you to hear is, you are doing exceptionally well. You are right on track. And the next question we want you to ask is, how can my life be better? And we say, seek things that feel good to you when you focus upon them. And the next question that we want you to ask is, how am I doing? And the answer is exceptionally well. And the next question we want you to ask is, what will come next? And we say, whatever it is you choose. And the next question that we want you to ask is, well, will you not choose for me? And the answer is, we are choosing with you, but we are not choosing for you. And when you are in vibrational alignment with that which is us, the choices that we make together are those choices that we all intended when you made the decision to come forth into this physical body to begin with. It's closing the gap, solving the separation, becoming one with who you are in your joyous endeavor, and then being the God in physical form that is natural to you. You have glimpses of that as you were translating that book. You were in vibrational alignment with that. You know that power. Esther feels it as she feels us pour through her. She knows that she is in alignment with that which is source, and she revels in the feeling of ecstasy as the words fly from her. There's no question in her mind that she's in vibrational alignment with infinite intelligence, or God if you want to call it that. She can feel the power of it, and the clarity of it, and the goodness of it, and the love of it, you see. But words don't teach. You have to have your own personal experience in order to have that knowing. And that's why every word that is uttered through Esther, that is offered from us, is a word and now translated by you to help others understand that you are the creator of your own reality. You are the God that is the creator of worlds, you see. Don't be humble and try to make yourself apart from that. Embrace it and accept it and ride that wave. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
On May 9th, my daughter is getting First Communion. And she recently asked me, she's preparing for this. She's getting the preparation that comes with it. And she asked me, Daddy, is there a devil? Is there Satan? And
Tell her yes.
okay.
Man made him up.
And that is actually how with all the training that I've gotten through the Abraham teachings, that's the inside the vortex answer. And I'm just wanting to resolve.
Well, you have a problem here, because what you're saying is, from inside the vortex, I can give her the answer. But it's not the answer that those outside the vortex want her to know.
Yes.
Because outside the vortex, you need plenty of threats in order to control people. And the devil is really a good one. Because there's no proof till after you die.
So there's a lot of this.
So when she says, Daddy, is there a devil? Here's what we would say. Tell that there is. But I've come to believe that it's a figment of man's imagination. Because, don't tell anyone, but I've broken rules that should have riled him, and nothing happened. You could say, I think that God or Source is so much more powerful that I don't think anything would ever dissuade you from that. So I don't think, sweet girl, it's anything you need to ever worry about again.
So it goes in line with, is there a Santa Claus?
Well, now, yes, there certainly is that, yes.
She's asking that question too, so I think those are tougher to answer.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because they are identical in nature. In other words, they are things that man has conjured in order to exercise some control. Now, many would say, well, Santa is really a happy thing for my child. And we say, Maybe.
So,
What you want to teach your child is alignment. That's something they can always believe in. And every other thing is really far, 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 far down on the list of priorities.
yes, it's
So
interesting, though, that she would ask that question. Is there a Satan or a
Well,
devil,
you're
as
right.
opposed to, infinite love and
It's
blah, blah,
because
blah.
that's the part she can feel is bogus. When she hears about that, she feels the offness of it. Esther remembers to this day, she was sitting on the steps of the front porch of her childhood home with the boy who lived next door. And her father came home, and Esther doesn't remember how old she was, but Vandy said to Esther's father, "Mr. Weaver, will you please tell your daughter that there is no Santa Claus?" And when Esther saw the look on her father's face, she knew. He was caught off guard. Didn't know what to do. And then her father didn't say anything, but Esther knew that was for sure. And then Esther spent years convincing her little sister that it was true because she wanted Santa to keep coming. And she knew as long as someone believed that he would keep showing up, you see. So your daughter says, is there a Santa Claus? Is that what she's asking?
She's at that point where did you put that in my stocking, or did you put that in the tree, or was that Santa? I'm still doing that. Yeah, it was Santa.
So here's what we would say. We would say, when you come into alignment with who you really are and what you really want, the fairies of the universe, that's worse than Santa. The fairies of the universe orchestrate all kinds of circumstances and events that are so close to inexplainable. Sometimes the well-being that comes to you is directly related to me. I am the vortex through which it comes to you, through which you summon it. But there is so much more well-being that is flowing to you that is outside of anything that I have anything to do with. So, sweetheart, I believe in the flow of goodness to you. And whether you want to call it source, or whether you want to call it Santa, or whether you want to call it me being an orchestrator of some of it, well-being will always flow to you. And that's the entrapment that people feel. They want their children to believe in goodness so much that they orchestrate things that aren't accurate, and then when their children find out that that wasn't true, then they lose their belief in the whole of it. And so what you're reaching for here is, how can I help my child believe in the flow of goodness that I know is coming to her without being deceptive in the process? And we say, by stepping back into the general understanding, by stepping back into what you really know, I know these things, say to her often. I know the value and goodness of that which is you. And I know that well-being is eternally flowing to you. And I know that your life will continue to unfold in wonderful ways. And I expect you to feel good all of the days of your life. And I know that you are the creator of your own experience, and that you have a powerful mind that you can focus into alignment with that which is source. And you can trust the way you feel. And when you think a thought that feels off, it's off. Because something that doesn't feel good means you've found a thought that is not in harmony with that which is source. And at an early age, this one is going to come to you and say, Dad, I'm hearing things at church that feel off to me. Are they really off? And you will stand in all of your knowing and you will say, I promise you, if it feels off to you, it's off. As you stand firm on helping this child come into vibrational alignment with her own guidance, you will be fulfilling your promise to her, you see.
Thank you very much.
you as well.
If I am to understand that we create our own reality through our thoughts powered by our feelings,
Not powered by your feelings, indicated by your feelings.
indicated by our
The
feelings,
thought is the power. And the
Right.
combined thought becomes more powerful. And law of attraction responding to it is the real engine. Feelings indicate.
so how does this work with the people in Burma and China over the past few weeks that have suffered such tragedies?
Well, we know it's hard to hear, and we're going to explain it from broad perspective. The first thing that we so want you to remember is that what you call death, that you all dread so, is not like you think it is. In other words, it's just re-emerging into the fullness of that which you are. And in the same way that a woman suffering from the negativity of her own life, and therefore causing the breakdown of her own body, finds Alzheimer's as the bridge into the pure positive energy. There are many populations who find catastrophes that are hard to understand from the outside point of view as a bridge into pure positive energy. If you start with the premise that is the valid premise that we know, that you are joy-seeking beings who are coming forth for the joy of life, and you come from source, from a vantage point of understanding not just that joy is your quest, but that joy is your legacy, that it is your inherited right. Is it not inconceivable that you could be set up for tragedy and for trauma and for the horrors of death? In other words, you just have to, with all of this, begin to wrap your minds around another way of understanding what you call life and death, that we are calling life and more life and more life. We said a little bit ago that when you look at the broad view of who you are, this experience that you call my whole life in this body is such a short snap of an experience that from the broader point of view, there is a humorous, adoring respect for the way you see your lives with all of this trauma and drama that is just not understood or experienced from non-physical perspective. It would be like you walking into a movie that someone had told you was going to be really good, and in the first scene you say, this is the most horrible thing I've ever seen, and just getting up and walking out. And the others in the theater then having a funeral for you. And being horrified that you didn't hang in there with them and see the movie to the end, when you said, this isn't the kind of movie I wanted to see, and I've had enough of this, off I go. So, the first premise that is flawed is the idea that death is a bad thing. So, we understand, we hear it often. People say, if I create my own reality, then how do you explain a large number of people creating such a horrific or even a common reality? And we say, well, when you think about how it is that most people offer almost all of their vibration in response to what they are observing, it makes you understand that it's not an unusual thing for a population to have a similar vibrational offering, because most of them are not thinking purposefully. Most of them are observing and therefore having a knee-jerk response to what they are observing. Then law of attraction exaggerates that, because you think a thought which causes you to feel a way, and it also causes you to set up a point of attraction which causes you to experience something which then you observe, which causes you to offer a vibration, which you then observe, which causes you to offer a vibration. And so there are these patterns. You see it as you travel around the world. You see different segments of your world vibrating similarly, you see. And so it is not surprising that people in areas would offer similar enough vibrations that they would co-create an event. But then we want you to step back even further and realize, we said it just a little bit ago, and let's exaggerate it here again, that there are 3 steps to the creative process, and whether you know it or not, whether you become a deliberate creator, one who is deliberately offering thought and therefore deliberately adjusting your vibration for the deliberate point of receiving something, or whether you are like so many people, in fact most people, who are offering your vibration by default. In other words, you're just observing and your vibrations are flowing all over the place. As you are offering your vibration and law of attraction is responding to your vibration, your resulting life experience is coming in response to what you're offering vibrationally. You just cannot get around it. As you think, you vibrate. As you vibrate, you attract. As you attract, you receive. So, whether you know it or not, you are sifting through this contrast, and in those experiences that you or almost anybody would call a not wanted experience, a very remarkable thing is happening. In that not wanting experience, there is a powerful launching of what is wanted. And so, huge segments of your population are putting great desire over here in vibrational escrow, but the confines of their environment seemingly prevents them from going with the flow of what they are asking for. And so, while someone like you could easily experience contrast and you feel more free to turn your attention to what you want and line up with it, some, in fact many, cannot do that. And the fastest way for them to achieve alignment with what this life has caused them to ask for is by re-emerging into non-physical. So, large segments of your population are putting forth wonderful things into a vibrational escrow that future generations, even the generations that remain beyond them in your now time, space reality, will benefit from, you see. And so, from that broader vantage point, there is no sacrifice. Now, I want to be clear about something. 3 parts to the creative process. Step 1 says ask. Well, are they ever doing that? Sometimes people will say, in appreciation of Jerry and Esther and Abraham, thank you for coming forth to answer. And we always say, these answers could not be here if someone were not asking. Expansion cannot take place without asking. And so, do not underestimate the power of the asking, the power of the asking. And do you know that there are so many who are coming forth from non-physical that understand the power of the answering, that never were not hung up on the idea of asking and aligning and allowing and receiving. They came forth to ask in very powerful ways, knowing that they would contribute mightily to what is being answered. And so, if you can step back and get that point of view, that source point of view, then you become one who is at ease with experiences. Some say, but what about the suffering? And we say, you can't assume that there is suffering. Esther said, as she shuddered and watched, that would be a horrible experience. And once she recovered and gave her attention to something else so that she came back into alignment, we said to her, there is so much less suffering than you think. There is so much less suffering in an experience like that. There is a quick and re-emergence. And even those that are being pulled from the rubble were in places where their desire to remain, they were the exception to that. And they found a place of allowing and received their alignment. In other words, whether you croak to receive your closing of your gap or whether you remain in physical and figure out to close it, in either case, the closing of the gap is something to be celebrated, you see. And so, we know that humans often would like us to join them in their beating the drum of the horrors of death, but we cannot do that because we understand the value of their perspective and the value of their step 1 asking, and we understand the exhilaration of their re-emergence back into non-physical. Someone like Esther or someone like you who has found a way to come into vibrational alignment with who you really are on a regular basis, when you have your death experience, croaking experience, you will not experience the rush of alignment all at once because you have achieved it on a really steady, regular basis. But imagine the thrill of in one fell swoop letting go of all fear and injustice and resentment, all discord, all hatred, all despair, and coming into alignment with who you are. You just got to get over this death thing.
Thank you very much.